Surely each of us has heard of the Jewish people, the Israelites, and the land of Israel. Familiar names, but have you ever wondered? Are they truly the same? Are the Jewish people actually the Israelites, and is today's Israel truly the homeland of all these people? Behind these names lies a profound history, interwoven with faith, prophecies, and the arduous journeys of a remarkable people. In this journey of discovery, we will explore the differences and intersections between the Jewish people, the Israelites, and the land of Israel. From ancient origins, where God promised the Holy Land, to historical events that separated or united these peoples, we'll witness how history, faith, and the present intersect to create something truly miraculous. You'll be surprised to discover that what you thought you knew about the Jewish people and Israel holds many secrets. Before we begin the video, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any content. Together, we'll explore and unravel the hidden meanings behind the origins and heritage of these names, for this journey is not only about the past, but also a meaningful glimpse into the future. The origins of the Jewish people, the Israelites, and the land of Israel are steeped in stories that intertwine history, faith, and the promises of God. To truly understand the meaning of these names, we must go back to the beginning with Abraham, who is regarded as the father of faith. When God called Abraham to leave his homeland of Ur to reach a promised land, he didn't merely grant him a promise of numerous descendants, but also initiated a unique covenant. This covenant wasn't only for Abraham, but extended through generations, embedding itself into the lives of his descendants, forming a people with a sacred connection to God. That promise was passed down through Abraham's son Isaac, and then continued with Jacob. Jacob, Abraham's grandson, played a crucial role in shaping the identity of this people. In a remarkable event recorded in Genesis 32, Jacob wrestled with an angel throughout the night, and after this trial, he was given a new name, Israel, meaning one who wrestles with God. This new name symbolized not only the trial, but also marked a profound covenant where Jacob and his descendants became God's chosen people. Jacob's descendants, collectively known as the Israelites, were divided into 12 tribes, each named after one of Jacob's 12 sons. Thus, the 12 tribes of Israel were not only the lineage of a common ancestor, but also the bearers of faith and the covenant. In fact, Jew originally referred specifically to members of the tribe of Judah, one of the 12 tribes. However, over time, this term gradually expanded and became a symbol for all who were faithful to the God of Israel, regardless of their tribe. A major turning point came around 930 BCE after King Solomon's death. Internal discord split the kingdom of Israel into two: the northern kingdom, which retained the name Israel and comprised 10 tribes, while the southern kingdom, called Judah, consisted of the tribes of Judah and Benjamin. The northern kingdom quickly fell into idolatry and customs contrary to God's original covenant. This led to a series of tragic events, culminating in the Assyrian Empire's invasion in 722 BCE, causing the dispersion of the 10 northern tribes. These tribes gradually became lost, and to this day they are known as the Lost 10 Tribes of Israel. This historical division holds profound significance, marking a clear distinction between the identities of the Israelites and the Jews. This historical division holds profound significance, marking a clear distinction between the identities of the Israelites and the Jews. Although every Jew is an Israelite, not every Israelite is considered a Jew. The Israelites include anyone from the 12 tribes of Israel, while Jew gradually came to refer only to those from the tribe of Judah, or residents of the kingdom of Judah. This distinction became even clearer in 586 BCE, when the Babylonian Empire, under King Nebuchadnezzar's rule, invaded the kingdom of Judah. The result was one of the most tragic events in the history of this people. Jerusalem was destroyed, the temple was burned, and many Jews were exiled to Babylon. This event placed the Judeans in a unique situation. Without a central homeland or sacred temple, they had to find ways to preserve their faith and national identity in a foreign land. At this time, the Judeans began to be called Jews, and they had to innovate new ways to maintain their relationship with God without a temple for worship. In exile, the Jews developed a strong identity centered around studying and practicing the Torah. Synagogues began to emerge, becoming centers of religious and community life, and from this, rabbis became the primary leaders, ensuring the preservation of Jewish laws and customs. The major difference between the exiled Jews and their Israelite ancestors was that Jewish identity was no longer tied to a specific land or single temple. While their ancestors viewed their homeland and temple as the center of faith, the exiled Jews developed a religious and cultural identity they could carry anywhere, a resilient identity that transcended borders. They reinforced their commitment to God through customs such as the Sabbath, dietary laws, and circumcision. In this way, the term Jewish transcended geographic and ethnic boundaries, becoming a symbol of faith and cultural religious practices focused on worshipping Yahweh. After approximately 70 years in exile, when the Persian Empire conquered Babylon, King Cyrus issued a decree allowing the Jews to return to Jerusalem. Many Jews returned and rebuilt the temple, though not everyone chose to go back. Those who remained in Babylon and others who scattered to different regions continued to preserve Jewish culture and faith, forming strong communities even outside the homeland of Israel. This marked a turning point, transforming the term Jewish from a national directive into an identity tied to a sacred covenant and shared religious practices. During exile and after their return, the Jews also nurtured a desire to fully restore the kingdom of Israel, tied to the covenant promise of a Messiah from the line of David, symbolizing salvation and the reunification of all the tribes of Israel. The rebuilding of the Second Temple sparked new vitality in the religious life of the Jewish people, with a strong focus on worshiping God and adhering to the laws given to Moses. The hope for a unified Israel and a Messiah was not only a longing to return, but also a desire to restore the divine bond between God and his people. The image of the Messiah from the line of Judah became a powerful symbol, a promise of unity, not only of Israel's past but also of all of God's people in the future. Returning to their homeland and rebuilding the temple was not just an act of physical restoration, but held profound spiritual significance. It reinforced the Jews' commitment to the covenant established from the time of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the forefathers whom they always recognized as their ancestors. From then on, the term Israel continued to carry spiritual and ancestral meaning, closely tied to the Jewish mission to uphold the covenant with God. However, in the new context, their identity became more associated with the term Jew, not merely as descendants of Judah, but as those who remained steadfastly faithful to the covenant throughout exile and after their return. In this way, the Jewish people became a nation defined not only by geography, but by their faith and culture, maintaining their connection with God even outside the Promised Land. From this point on, the term Jewish symbolized a deep commitment to law, faith, and resilience, enabling them to overcome all challenges and uphold their identity wherever they were in the world. Many Jews, particularly those in the southern kingdom of Judah, were keenly aware of their role as preservers of Israel's heritage, committed to safeguarding the sacred covenant with God. With Jerusalem and the temple as their spiritual center, the kingdom of Judah became a living symbol of Jewish faith and national identity. Events like the loss of the 10 northern tribes further reinforced their sacred responsibility to uphold this heritage. The topic of the lost 10 tribes is not only a historical story, but also a spiritual symbol in Jewish, Christian, and Islamic thought. Prophecies about their return have ignited hope for a future reunion. The topic of the lost 10 tribes is not only a historical story, but also a spiritual symbol in Jewish, Christian, and Islamic thought. Prophecies about their return have ignited hope for a future reunion. Jewish identity thus became more complex, encompassing both lineage and a profound spiritual commitment to God's laws and promises. After the exile, the focus of Jewish religious leaders increasingly shifted toward Torah study and strict observance of the commandments. To protect and uphold the faith, rabbis became key figures, not only teaching but also interpreting the laws, helping the people understand and adhere to God's covenant. From this point, Rabbinic Judaism emerged, further emphasizing the importance of the Torah in Jewish life and identity. Studying and following the Torah became not only a way of preserving tradition, but also a key aspect of Jewish identity, transcending lineage and tribal affiliations. Consequently, Jewish identity was no longer merely a family heritage, but became a lasting spiritual legacy. In the absence of a stable homeland, Rabbinic Judaism enabled them to develop a faith that could endure and thrive beyond territorial boundaries, spreading across Jewish communities worldwide. Today's unified Jewish identity represents an unbroken continuity, with God's original covenant promise to Israel, the people he chose as his own. As a covenant people, the Jews have preserved the shared heritage of the 12 ancient tribes, even though many of the original tribal identities gradually faded after exiles and dispersions. In the modern world, Jewish has evolved into a broad concept encompassing religious beliefs, cultural practices, and a heritage tied to Israel's covenant history. A Jewish person may follow the teachings of Judaism, live according to the laws given through Moses, and worship in synagogues around the world. Beyond religious aspects, Jewish identity is also a cultural symbol, connecting those with a shared heritage from ancient Israel, even if they do not strictly observe religious practices. In Jewish communities, this heritage includes languages such as Hebrew, Yiddish, or Ladino, customs passed down through holidays like Passover and Hanukkah, and distinctive religious and family rituals preserved across generations. To be Jewish, therefore, is not only to descend from the tribes, specifically the descendants of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, but also to continue a rich and enduring culture that they have maintained through centuries of diaspora around the world. Jewish identity is shaped by religious practices, cultural expressions, and lineage, all of which connect Jews to the original covenant God established with the people of Israel. The establishment of the State of Israel in 1948 introduced a new dimension to Jewish identity. After centuries of persecution and dispersion, Jews found a homeland where they could preserve their culture and religion without fear of oppression. Israel became the symbol of a tangible homeland, but the modern concept of an Israeli signifies citizenship in the nation of Israel, a country where Jews form the majority, but which includes various other ethnicities and religions. Not all Israelis are Jewish. The modern state of Israel is a multi-ethnic society, including Arab, Muslim, Christian, Druze, and Bedouin groups, each with distinct identities not necessarily aligned with Jewish religion or culture. This creates a clear distinction between Jews and Israelis in the modern context. While all Jews may view Israel as their historical and spiritual homeland, not all Israelis define their identity through a Jewish religious or cultural lens. The distinction between Jews and Israelis in the modern state of Israel highlights the complexity and depth of identity structures. For many Jews, being part of the Jewish community is a continuation of an ancient covenant and sacred cultural history, regardless of whether they live in Israel. The State of Israel has become a gathering place, but Jewish identity still encompasses a community beyond geography, carrying a connected spiritual and cultural tradition, no matter where Jews live in the world. Being an Israeli today embodies a national identity that includes individuals from diverse religious and ethnic backgrounds within the modern state of Israel. Throughout the Bible, we see God fulfilling his promises to the people of Israel, a promise that became the foundation of their identity as a chosen people. This covenant began with Abraham, passed through the generations of Isaac and Jacob, and then continued with the 12 tribes of Israel, forming a unique people for God's purposes. From the call of Abraham to leave his homeland to the giving of the law at Sinai, Israel's heritage has always centered around a unique relationship with God, built on the foundations of obedience, faith, and sacred promises. Even when the people of Israel faced disobedience and great challenges, God remained steadfast in his covenant. Prophets like Isaiah, Jeremiah, and Ezekiel conveyed hope for a future where God would gather Israel from all lands, bringing restoration and renewal. This covenant has been and continues to be a pillar of Jewish identity and heritage, reminding them of God's unwavering commitment. For believers today, The existence of Israel carries prophetic significance, as many prophecies in the Bible refer to Israel as a key part of God's ultimate plan for the world, a role that God will fulfill in the Messianic era. Passages in Zechariah 12:10 and Ezekiel 36-37 foretell a time when the Jewish people will return to God, recognize his Messiah, and when Israel will be restored both spiritually and physically. In Matthew 24, Jesus also mentioned Israel and Jerusalem as central to the final events, emphasizing Israel's crucial role in God's redemptive plan for all humanity. These prophecies carry meaning not only for Israel, but also for all nations, affirming that God's covenant people will play a vital role in the restoration of creation. In the book of Ezekiel, particularly in chapter 37, the prophet foretells a spiritual restoration where God will reunite Israel and Judah as one nation. This vision offers a prophetic hope of a unified people under the leadership of the Messiah, a figure who will bring revival, redemption, and lead all descendants of Jacob back to their homeland. Such prophecies have ignited a strong hope within the Jewish people for the entire Israel's return to the covenant with God. The image of the lost 10 tribes has become a symbol of unwavering resolve and deep faith in the promise of restoration. These promises have profoundly shaped Jewish identity over centuries, particularly the belief in a unified Israel that is not merely a concept of a past people, but also a symbol of a future nation under God's guidance. For many Jews, Israel represents not only history, but also a future people who will be restored, unified, and return to their sacred heritage under God. This hope has become a powerful force in Jewish religious and cultural life, continually motivating subsequent generations to uphold and pass on their heritage with faith and determination. Although Israel is central to the biblical narrative, the prophets also declared that God's blessing would extend to all nations. In Isaiah 49:6, God states that his servant, the Messiah, will be a light for the Gentiles, bringing salvation to the ends of the earth. This promise was fulfilled through Jesus, by whom the blessing of the covenant was extended beyond Israel to all nations. Through Jesus, both Jews and Gentiles are invited into a new covenant, becoming a unified spiritual family in faith. However, Israel's special calling remains. The Apostle Paul in Romans 11 explains that God has not abandoned his promise to Israel. Rather, Israel's restoration is part of God's grand plan to bring all humanity to him. Paul's metaphor of Gentiles being grafted into Israel's olive tree illustrates the shared heritage that both Jews and Gentiles possess, while honoring Israel's central role in the plan of redemption. Israel's mission is not only to be a chosen people, but also to be the channel through which God imparts blessings to all humanity. God's words to Abraham in Genesis 12:3, "All peoples on earth will be blessed through you," reveal his intention for Israel to bring salvation to the world. Through Israel, God delivered the law, sent prophets, and ultimately the Messiah, allowing the message of salvation to spread, shaping history, influencing cultures, and providing hope for generations across millennia. Israel's heritage is a testament to God's faithfulness and eternal promises, and his commitment to bless humanity through a chosen people. For believers, understanding Israel's role in God's plan is both humbling and profoundly inspiring, reminding us of our place in a story that spans generations. Israel has become a vivid symbol of faith, resilience, and God's enduring promise. Through Israel, we see a story that transcends all borders, languages, and eras, a story woven with divine purpose, bringing us closer to the heart of salvation for all believers. Israel's role is a testament to God's steadfast promises and his plan for all nations. As we reflect on the distinctions and connections between these identities, we are invited to see the greater picture of God's work in the world, a story that encompasses all of us, unified in the faith and hope rooted in God's promise to Abraham. As we conclude this video, we have journeyed together to uncover the mysteries and meanings behind the titles of Jew, Israelite, and Israel, exploring the origins, development, and unique role of each identity in history and faith. These titles are not just historical terms, but symbols of faith, covenant, and hope within God's redemptive plan for all humanity. Through this story, we clearly see God's faithfulness to his people and the connection between past, present, and future in an eternal covenant. If you found this content insightful and meaningful, please subscribe to the channel to avoid missing any other videos. Don't forget to turn on notifications to receive our latest updates. Thank you for joining us on this journey of discovery. Let us pray together. Lord, we thank you for the profound revelations of your people throughout history. Help us to understand more deeply the meaning of faith, loyalty, and your boundless mercy. May you continue to guide us to live in connection with you, whether in the faith of the Jews, the Israelites, or any believer worldwide. We ask that you bring harmony and blessings to all your people, so we may live fully within your covenant and in the love of the Messiah. Amen.